Welcome to DataSphere 2021. Data has always been Seagate's DNA, and we're thrilled you've joined us for a conversation about new ways to get the most out of it. Today, we invite you to say goodbye to the old, outdated way of managing data and say hello to a new way to data. Data that is always on the go, available, rich with insights, captured infinitely, and moved seamlessly. Welcome to a world in which data powers human ingenuity at petabyte and even zettabyte scale. We realize you're having to do more with less. We know the feeling. The data landscape is more complex than ever. You're having to tackle unprecedented data growth, data gravity, the sprawl of data from edge through multi-cloud, and don't forget fixed budgets and unpredictable costs. Let's face it, the current approaches are not good enough to meet these challenges. In order for organizations to get the most out of their data management strategy has to evolve. That's why we need a new way to data. Here's what we have in store today. You'll take away strategies to manage the deluge of unstructured enterprise data. You'll hear from peers and industry experts about how they've tackled data management challenges. And lastly, we're excited to show you Seagate Live, Seagate's new edge-to-cloud mass storage platform, which embodies a new way to data, including Live Cloud, our recently announced S3 storage as a service offering. Let's get started. The world is awash with data. Data has chronicled what makes us human, and it pointed the way forward. Along the way, we have accumulated a lot of it. Just last month, Seagate passed a mind-boggling milestone. We shipped over 3 billion terabytes of storage capacity. By the year 2025, the volume of data created will reach 175 zettabytes. Enterprise data in particular has been proliferating at an astonishing pace. This year alone, it's expected to expand at an average annual growth rate of 42%. That means an organization managing 40 petabytes of data in 2021 will have 56 petabytes to contend with in 2022. So clearly, future-proofing IT strategy for mass storage is not just important, it's an architectural necessity.
Seagate has been addressing enterprise storage for decades. In some sense, we've been buried in the data center for a long, long time. We know the trends in mass capacity really well, and we work with those customers on what they need for products. We also have consumer brands of data stored at the extreme edge and even moving around. So really what we're trying to do with the Live ecosystem is marry all of that together. Ultimately, the best landing spot for mass capacity will be hard drives in enormous aggregation points.
There's an explosive proliferation of IoT devices and sensors, and they're all part of an increasing application of automation and machine-generated data across a myriad of different industries, from industrial manufacturing to farming to autonomous vehicles and even healthcare. Then there's also the increasing generation of video and imaging applications to a myriad of video streaming applications that we're all watching at home right now.
The challenges that CIOs face today, it starts with the lack of availability of mass capacity storage at a affordable TCO. Today's global networks are bandwidth constrained and cost a lot of money to shuttle data back and forth. You throw in the explosive growth of data into that mix, and you are now facing a unique challenge. How do you extract intelligence from this data to help build better products and promote your business?
You see a pairing of massive data growth with the complexity of massive data sprawl, where data is spread out across an enterprise from a locale perspective or a regional perspective. So at the same point where data is becoming more valuable, it's also becoming more complex in this new era.
We understand how data moves from endpoints back to the cloud and core. We build those products ourselves, and we believe that by doing that more efficiently, providing better costs, better flexibility, more security for all the ecosystems, provides opportunities for everyone to see and garner value from their data.
Because of the staggering growth of data and the shifts taking place in data gravity, enterprises tap into surprisingly little of their data's value. In fact, a Seagate-commissioned IDC survey found that only 32% of data available to enterprises is actually put to use. More than ever, carefully designed mass data infrastructure is critical. Let's take a look at a real-world IoT data workflow. We're going to follow the journey of a massive unstructured data set as it travels from the endpoint sensors that generate it through co-located data centers at the edge to finally arrive in the cloud for analysis. We'll cover 3 stages of this data journey: how we move this data, how it's stored, and how it can be activated. There are obstacles that pop up at each of these stages, points of resistance and friction, but the good news is you can manage them with Seagate Live, our new edge-to-cloud mass storage platform, which can augment your existing infrastructure and help you get the most out of your data. Introducing Seagate Live, featuring Live Mobile, Live Rack, and Live Cloud, a comprehensive suite of services, hardware, and software built for the data-driven, distributed enterprise. Unable to access and cross-reference data from endpoint sensors and other repositories, businesses miss out on the insights that lead to growth. To be useful, data needs to be free to move. It needs to be free to mingle. When the network can't support mass data movement, you have to get creative. Enter Live Mobile.
The shift in data gravity and the rise of the edge means conventional data management and storage methods are quickly approaching their breaking point. Slow, expensive network connectivity and data center ingestion mean traditional data backhaul approaches are not efficient for moving data sets at terabyte and petabyte scale. Data scattered across multiple clouds and edge locations becomes siloed, stifling innovation. Aggregating and analyzing that data becomes a complicated and costly challenge. Live Mobile is a simple, secure, and efficient solution that enables enterprises to capture data in dispersed environments, store it at the edge, and migrate it from anywhere to everywhere, without network or vendor dependencies. Live Mobile enables rapid movement of large data sets from edge to cloud into production workflows where they can be analyzed for faster time to insight. Scalable, modular, and vendor agnostic, Live Mobile is an integrated family of edge storage and data transfer devices. With Live Mobile Shuttle, overcome the constraints of the network and seamlessly move your data between storage locations more efficiently and securely. With Live Mobile Array, deploy edge storage in remote locations adjacent to IoT sensors to support low-latency computing. Live Mobile Rack Mount Receiver lets you rapidly and seamlessly ingest massive data sets stored on Live Mobile Array into the data center to reduce cost and management complexity. Pay only for the devices you need when you need them, using live data transfer services to scale up and down with predictable costs and flexible as-a-service consumption. Overcome the barriers of data gravity. When the network can't cope with massive data sets, use Live to set up efficient workflows from endpoint to edge to cloud.
Seagate has been providing the world with physical data shuttles for a long time. It's just we've been calling them USB drives, but we know that people ship them all around the world. And as we learn more about this customer behavior, we really tailored our solution and created an array of products that seamlessly work together. The key here, though, is that we want to serve enterprise solutions needs, but with a plug-and-play consumer mindset. We want that same use case of just being able to plug something in and drag and drop, or plug something in and data automatically to ingest, to happen in the enterprise workflow for this mass data migration.
My name is Ashish Nadkarni. I'm part of IDC's worldwide research practice. I cover IDC's research on storage, compute, cloud and edge infrastructure. Seagate commissioned a survey that IDC ran. It was a worldwide survey that we specifically screened two groups of respondents. The first group of respondents was IT decision makers and practitioners that deal with on-premises infrastructure. And the second group of respondents were respondents that have public cloud infrastructure as a service. Organizations are relying more and more on data as the fuel for digital transformation. I think the challenge that companies have with data is that there is too much of it.
When I started at Seagate about 4 years ago, one thing that very quickly came to my attention was that we were generating over 30 terabytes of data in our global factories on a daily basis. And we store all of this data locally within each site. There is no way to really bring that data together and to correlate it. That's where the valuable intelligence of that data is lost. So we were faced with a problem where we wanted to bring all of this data together, but the existing technologies and bandwidth challenges prevented us from doing that.
This type of data, it's unstructured data, it's files, it's images, it's objects. This data needs to be mobile. It needs to be moved in order to be activated, as you don't want it stuck in silos at the edge.
You can move the data via networks, either wireless or wired networks, but as the data continues to grow, that gets prohibitively expensive in some cases. And we think that there are opportunities to address that problem with physical motion. Not having to move it all around via networks all the time is actually a great option.
Very often it's not possible to move over massive amounts of data virtually, because these connections between different sites are, first of all, very, very expensive, and you have to move over petabytes of data. So even if you are using some WAN acceleration techniques or file compression techniques, you won't get all the data through your virtual line. This is not possible. So you have to focus on a physical file movement process. You can't really avoid it. Why don't we move over the data through 4G or 5G? It's not possible because 5G was made for downstream and not for upstream.
When we look at physical form factors, we go from card to cartridge to array to rack. And with that, you can apply those form factors to any workflow in any vertical in any use case.
When we did this survey, the second challenge that they have after dealing with data growth is the movement of this data. So 99% of respondents said that moving data between the different storage locations and utilizing the network or physical data transfer to move this data, it's a headache, it's a challenge, and it introduces complexity, it introduces integration challenges, and ultimately people blame the infrastructure that the data resides on and the shortcoming of that infrastructure to meet their business SLAs or business objectives, if you will.
We realized that the best way to really bring this data together and bring value out of it was to move this data physically. That's when we actually started moving this data globally using our data shuttles.
Live enables you to move your data, enables it to be activated, and also to be economically stored.
One vehicle generates up to 100 terabytes from a single day drive. If you are using up to 12 2K cameras, 5 radars, maybe up to 2 or 3 LiDARs, some ultrasonic sensors, and the next generation of cameras will focus on 4K resolution or 8K resolution. And cameras are most data hungry. So I guess in long term, maybe we are ending up around about 150 to 200 terabytes of data per vehicle. And some companies are having a fleet of up to 100 vehicles. You can't avoid to move over the data physically.
One of the keys to enabling frictionless movement of data so that we can solve the complexity problem and the cost problem is data migration. Very secure, highly efficient data shuttles are part of this emerging data sprawl and complexity solution. Not only does it overcome this challenge of massive lift and shift of large data sets, but it can also just simply offload the burden of the network pipes to allow compute interactions to continue while the data workflow happens offline of those network pipes.
The Live Mobiles are providing a simple and comfortable solution to physically move data from a fleet of vehicles located anywhere in the world to a data center located anywhere in the world. So I would say a fast and efficient solution to physically move over the data. I would also say it's not really limited to a fleet of vehicles to the data center, because very often you do also have the challenge how to get massive amounts of data from one data center into another data center that you cannot really use a virtual WAN connection. The Seagate Live Mobiles are solving an important issue in the development process of AD/ADAS functionalities.
The Live Mobile product suite allows people to move data freely, regardless of network, pipeline, or time constraints. We also don't want it to be cost prohibitive. They don't have to buy all the hardware. They can use it as a service. But the key for us is to enable that frictionless movement and the utilization of data that is central to our mission. Help the world store more and drive more value.
To see Live Mobile in action, let's head out to Dallas, Texas, where the future of data transfer is already here.
For 85 years, Bell has been redefining vertical lift. We have done a lot of things in innovation since our inception. We broke the sound barrier for the first time with the X-1 jet. We're part of NASA's first lunar mission, and we have designed the next generation of tilt rotor technology or aircraft with the V280. And today, we actually were talking about the autonomous pod transport or APT, and we're marrying that with AI and the multimodal connectivity into this ecosystem that we're creating for the future.
They're really the masters of their craft in rotorcraft technology. And just like Seagate, being experts in data solution technology, they also continue to innovate, where they want to just take that rotorcraft technology to the next level. Bell told us the primary reason for the APT was to move goods from one site to another. So we raised the question, what about data? Moving large data sets via drone hasn't been something that's been approached before. We decided that this is something that's going to be very innovative. It's going to be something that's going to solve a lot of challenges in the market for both of us. And that's when we decided, let's get our research teams together, let's really build out this market, and let's go get it together. You have these remote locations in the middle of nowhere. That's really where a lot of the data is being generated because of the fact that a lot of those sensors are at the endpoint. That's where we want to be. That's where we want to help the users get the data and move it back to their core. And again, that's where Seagate Live Mobile Array and our whole Live solution was really designed to focus on that market.
So the current sensors out there, the data is being collected by it in remote locations which are not supported by existing IT infrastructure, thus creating the need for services to move these huge amounts of data from point A to point B. And this is where Seagate and Bell are collectively and actively exploring what solutions we can deliver to customers, where there is this huge need for fast, reliable, quick data transfer among sites.
You can't really lay out the long fiber networks from a remote site like an oil rig to the shore to move data. So Bell and Seagate with the APT Live Mobile Array solution is really targeted to support businesses like this type of use case.
So some of the applications that we're seeing with the autonomous pod transport is really medical deliveries, third-party logistics, offshore deliveries, data transport, of course. The customer pain points that the APT is addressing currently is the time criticality, right? Moving things fast from point A to point B to remote locations, and also the cost associated with that. The APT and Live solution will enable us to move up to 180 terabytes of data. There is no solution out there currently in the market that can do that.
Network, ground transportation still has their place. But no matter what market you are in, you're always going to have that critical data that's going to appear. You're going to find something that, I just got to get this to my core, this is critical, we need to train on this. Load it right there from the warehouse into the APT. APT takes off, lands and delivers to whatever facility that you need it to receive, and then you get your data that much faster is another possibility with this solution.
I think what we're doing is going to really disrupt the market completely. It's going to be a tipping point. So it's going to be something very innovative, very far out there, but something that I think the people are going to really be able to connect to the solution and understand the why, right? The why we're doing this.
With Bell's APT and Seagate's Live Mobile Array and Live Solutions, we're looking to introduce the solution to the world that now enables autonomous drone transport, moving data from one point to another.
Okay, so we figured out an efficient and fast way to move mass amounts of data. This is good. As you know, deleting data can be a serious no-no. So the question now becomes, how in the world do we store it all? And how do we do that without blowing the budget? This is the question on the minds of many IT leaders. They find it hard to store all the data that's available to them. And as a result, they miss out on its complete value. The value that's there today and its future value. The value that will come alive in the use cases of tomorrow.
There's a lot behind the explosive growth of data. A lot of it can be traced back to the proliferation of IoT devices and sensors as part of the increasing application and use of automation and machine-generated data across a myriad of industries, from industrial manufacturing to farming to autonomous vehicles and even healthcare. That the better quality and quantity of data are key to enabling their success in the data age.
So IDC found that companies only store 20 to 30% of the data they collect. And that's significant, which means that they're basically throwing away 70 to 80% of the data ultimately. And that's a problem because that data could be very important. They could have gleaned more insights from that data. Part of the reason they do that is because of insufficient tooling and scale in the infrastructure. Only 45% of enterprises indicate that the storage systems they use in their environment are optimized for mass storage. They're not optimized, and so they have no choice.
It's really confusing. You would think in the data age that everyone would want to save as much data as possible. But what we hear from customers is that while there can be a number of factors behind this data waste, it really boils down to two things. Complexity in that the data is highly geographically distributed, and then of course, there's cost.
The prohibitive cost of enterprise storage and vendor lock-in limits the volume of data enterprises can store and activate. Capacity is restricted. Data goes uncaptured and unused. LiveRack is a pre-configured S3 object storage solution for efficient placement and management of storage-intensive private cloud infrastructure, enabling distributed multi-site edge storage architecture. LiveRack helps break down data silos and enables efficient capture and consolidation of massive unstructured datasets. LiveRack is built on the hyperscale blueprint for unrivaled data economics and offers mass storage deployment flexibility for petabyte-scale edge data centers through multi-petabyte on-premises private clouds or off-premises regional data centers. Powered by Seagate's open object storage software Cortex, LiveRack democratizes mass capacity storage architecture, allowing organizations to exploit the latest mass capacity hard drive innovations and store more data for the same budget. Cortex is 100% open source, so customers benefit from transparency, open source licensing, and the flexibility to adapt the code. LiveRack is optimized for remote edge deployment locations with simplified installation and maintenance, while maintaining high availability and data integrity. Supporting S3 cloud-native protocols, LiveRack simplifies hybrid multi-cloud configurations and storage management with zero vendor lock-in. At Seagate, we believe that cost should not be a barrier to storing more data. Tame the flood of unstructured data and bring hyperscale TCO efficiencies to enterprise private cloud and edge environments.
Now, why is powerful storage, especially storage located closest to data sources and users, so important? Enterprises not only need to secure frictionless transfer and ingestion of mass data into mass capacity optimized storage, they also need to minimize latency. We paid a visit to Vapor.io, whose micro data centers enable deployment of Live Rack at the edge.
At Vapor.io, we're building the world's largest globally interconnected platform of edge infrastructure. Our product is called the Kinetic Edge. And the way you can think about it is we're bringing the internet backbone to the edge of the access network. The whole idea is to bring the applications and services close to where the data is created and where the devices exist. We believe that most companies don't want to own data centers. What they prefer is something that we call near premises, and that is all the value of an on-premises data center, but not actually on your premises. So nearby, a short fiber run away. Vapor.io builds the infrastructure. We provide the micro data centers, we provide the power, the space, the cooling, the security, the networking between those data centers, our entire Kinetic Edge property. Seagate provides the mass amounts of storage that companies can use to capture and get value from that data. Any enterprise going through digital transformation is going to need to process data at the edge if they're going to be competitive, and they're going to need infrastructure at the edge, and Vapor.io, frankly, is the easy button for that.
So one of the findings of the survey was that a hybrid deployment model, which is basically bringing together hybrid cloud, public cloud, edge, all of these different locations, is the preferred deployment model from a modern data management strategy perspective in order to take on the challenges of data gravity.
Data gravity is the idea that data has physical properties like mass and inertia and momentum, and particularly large amounts of data become hard to move, and so they attract services and applications and infrastructure, and that mass attracts additional services and applications and infrastructure, and that tends to grow because that's how we extract value from the data. You can't fight data gravity. The cloud has to move to the edge.
Data gravity is making enterprise IT architecture more complex. Before, you were able to take your data, it was all centralized, located, maybe in one or two data centers. Now, data is being created by these myriad of sensors at the endpoint, at the edge.
Most people have a hard time understanding the sheer scale of the data we're creating. The ability to create it, the ability to store it, the ability to analyze it has grown exponentially, and that means we need new solutions. The companies that can figure out how to get insight from their data faster and at lower cost than competitors are going to be the ones that win.
You want to do some amount of processing or pre-processing closer to where the data is originated so you can make real-time decisions. So you think about that, that means that my enterprise is going to be more distributed in architecture than ever before. By definition, the edge, it's not always your typical data center environment. So that distribution of data and the associated IT equipment, that all needs to be deployed, managed, maintained in often remote locations. So the ease of deployment, remote management, self-healing capabilities, all this becomes increasingly important, as does the need for all those devices and systems to be in some way connected to a centralized point of management so you can scale.
One of the most powerful aspects of the Seagate Live solution is the ability for even an unskilled technician to install or remove these hard drives. And in a highly distributed edge environment, that's extremely important because you're probably not going to have a skilled technician at every site.
If that infrastructure was originally designed to store a certain size of the data set, now that the data set has become a few orders of magnitude bigger than what the original size was, that infrastructure starts to break because of the weight of that data set itself. And it starts to create this situation where any movement of that data is now subject to the limitations of the infrastructure itself.
The ability for enterprises to create data is far outstripping their ability to analyze it and manage it, so we need new solutions.
Live Rack enables enterprises to economically store large amounts of data, petabytes of data, all in a single system that is very easy to manage, very cost efficient, and one that's part of their broader, larger live mass storage platform. You can deploy Live Rack at the endpoint, at the edge, and in your core data center.
We think the combination of our two product lines is going to help companies unlock massive amounts of value with data at the edge.
We want to reduce the cost of storing data to enable our enterprise customers capture more data, analyze it, and ultimately monetize it.
The Live platform starts with Live Mobile, aggregating data in the field and getting it ready to move. It can either move to a private cloud, where Live Rack is designed to be the lowest TCO solution, or the data can be moved to live cloud.
The reality is business leaders everywhere report difficulties with lack of access to data, inability to view the data sets, an impeded movement of data in the multi-cloud environment, and unpredictable economics. Pain points like these are why Seagate built Live Cloud. It's a new approach to cloud that offers a cost-effective storage as a service, enabling customers to store more data while meeting their TCO objectives.
So as we embarked upon our transformation journey in Seagate IT, we were working on consolidating and harmonizing our data and storage footprint. So the goal was to really pull out all the data from the various silos and bring them into a common global repository and throw it into the public cloud, which we did for a large number of our workloads. What we found out was today's public cloud is purpose-built for certain workloads. There are some workloads like big data analytics that do not really do well from an economics perspective in today's public cloud ecosystem.
When companies invested in public cloud infrastructure, they had smaller data sets to deal with. They had data sets that were manageable. But now that these public cloud data sets have become petabyte scale, this is when that initial model that scaled well for them has started to become a bit unmanageable. And this is where I think newer data models or newer operating models need to be looked at as a part of their overall hybrid cloud strategy.
That's when we realized in order for us to be able to continue to extract value and store more data, we had to have a different architecture where we would have the ability to manage our TCO while adding more data into a repository.
99% of respondents say that they incur planned or unplanned egress fees, at least annually. And these fees can quickly add up. They're very material, and in some of the respondents cite that up to 6% of their total public cloud storage bill is made up of egress, which means if you're paying a lot of money on your infrastructure, expect to pay a significant amount in moving data in and out of that infrastructure.
So it's really about building a solution, a platform which has easy access, no lock-ins, no egress costs, no ingress costs, and no API charges. That was really our goal. We built this for ourselves, and having talked about this to a number of CIOs in the industry, we realized that this is an area where there are many CIOs who actually would like to leverage this. That was really when we made the pivot from this being an internal product for Seagate's IT organization to opening it up to external customers and companies. What we offer with Live Cloud is a simple, trusted, and efficient way of moving data into our cloud and out of the cloud.
In the old way, vendor lock-in and the prohibitive cost of storage limits the volume of data businesses can store and activate. Data can get stuck in silos, stifling innovation. Live Cloud introduces a new approach to cloud storage, a simple, trusted, and efficient S3 object storage as a service. With always-on availability, world-class security, and cost predictability. From the global leader in mass data storage. Live Cloud's simple, transparent pricing structure eliminates vendor lock-in and provides long-term predictability, with zero API charges or egress fees, delivering optimal TCO for mass data storage and allowing business to scale without limits. Live Cloud complements existing multi-cloud strategy, enabling data to seamlessly flow to wherever it generates the most value. Seagate's collaboration with Equinix brings Live Cloud to the metro edge, closer to data sources, to help enterprises overcome the barriers of data gravity. Live Cloud provides data freedom, interconnecting with any cloud or compute ecosystem to enhance multi-cloud performance and efficiency. Live Cloud simplifies data migration so businesses can easily move critical data between public and private clouds, distribute data sets to specialized clouds, or simply use it for aggregation of edge data, backup and archive, or hosting an enterprise data lake. Live Cloud Console's intuitive dashboard makes it easy to manage data, view consumption metrics, and access 24/7 expert support. Live Cloud adheres to the most stringent globally recognized data security standards, safeguarding data with ransomware protection, and data encryption at rest and in flight. Immutable object storage protects data from attacks, corruption, or deletion. Put more data to work with Live Cloud, a frictionless cloud available at the Metro Edge.
One of the world's largest backup software companies, Veritas, certified Live Cloud earlier this year. Let's hear what they have to say about our collaboration.
Veritas and Seagate have come together to address these large enterprise challenges around data backup. We're going to bring net backups, highly efficient deduplication, compression, capabilities like instant access and protection from ransomware, integrated with Live Cloud's security, accessibility, and cost profile in a highly secure environment from ransomware.
Seagate has such fantastic assets to address these problems. We have 40 years of experience working with customers around the world. We understand their architectures and their challenges.
Data is stuck in old media because of lengthy retention requirements and a lack of understanding of the value of that data.
CIOs don't have the ability to restore this data on demand. This workload is really about digitizing these millions of tapes that are sitting out there and offering them to customers and always on capability.
So if customers can find the way to quickly move from those legacy environments into online data in a cost-efficient manner, they can then begin to utilize that data via analytics to unlock value that's hidden in the data.
The access to this data should be always on. That's one mechanism for customers to really extract value from this archival data.
The Seagate vision is that it's your data. It's the end user's data. We are a steward of it. We want to keep it safe, but we don't want to trap it. We don't want to keep it in silos. We want to allow it to go wherever it needs to go frictionlessly.
Net backup on Live Cloud, combined to address customer concerns. Customers can be confident in their selection of these products as they are focused on freedom of choice, being the last line of defense, and ensuring you can always recover with built-in data durability and always-on capabilities.
It's your data, your way. Freed from silos and inflexible data economics, we are democratizing hyperscale storage architectures by offering economical and fast deployment of object storage and by enabling discovery of insights through rich labeling of massive amounts of data. So, we captured and moved all this data, and we can store it cost efficiently. The challenge then becomes, what do we do with it? How do we get actionable insights out of this data? The answer is all about efficiency through proximity, connecting distributed data at the edge to machine learning and AI tools in the cloud. Live Cloud is available at the Metro Edge through Seagate's collaboration with Equinix, whose global data centers bring the cloud closer to data sources and users.
The collaboration between Seagate and Equinix really started when we sat down and they shared their vision for Live Cloud storage as a service. What we could all see quickly is that it was a high-performance, capable platform to address growing storage requirements as all of our customers wrestle with the growing volumes of data that now exist in the world. Where we took it from there was to say that for that platform to really have its full value, it needed to be geographically distributed, close to end users. And so Equinix, with our global platform in 26 and soon to be 27 countries, and our broad suite of interconnection products, really fit together well with the vision that Seagate has for their Live Cloud storage platform.
Equinix helps us with our footprint. They have a lot of expertise, but they also have a lot of geographic diversity. They can inform us about how Live Cloud should be used best for latency issues for our customers and how we can plug most efficiently into the large clouds. Oftentimes, those large clouds have footprints that are very nearby inside of an Equinix colo so that the Live Cloud data is actually really close to the applications that can take advantage of it.
The Seagate Live Cloud and Equinix collaboration makes all the sense in the world. If you think about it, Seagate Live Cloud is storage-centric, bringing massive amount of data ingested and onboarded from endpoint sensors at the Metro Edge. Most other clouds are combined with compute, and it creates a framework where you need to work around hybrid and data orchestration. For us, being storage-centric should help end users understand that they have an unbiased, very simple place to put their data, even before they may know where it needs to go. Meanwhile, Platform Equinix is bringing compute to that data, enabling value extraction. It's a perfect match.
We put those things together and sat down and said, let's bring the platform capabilities to customers who are wrestling with these very issues of performance, of latency, of geographic distribution, and data sovereignty. And we're now in a position to bring those together and start working with customers to leverage the joint capabilities of our respective platforms.
The value proposition of Equinix is actually multifold. Number one, Equinix is at the metro edge. It has a strong network and ecosystem of customers who are today asking for the scaling up capability when it comes to compute and storage, which Equinix and Seagate can provide. Additionally, Equinix is the backbone of today's cloud. Equinix provides cloud interconnection services to all of the major hyperscalers. Customers can host their data at any location and access either compute or applications on any cloud service provider's platform today. That's the value proposition that Equinix brings to this equation.
We're bringing together the respective strengths of our companies and the platforms that we build and operate to enable our customers to deploy new capabilities and to drive innovation. One exciting potential that we see in the collaboration between Seagate and Equinix is the ability to distribute and accelerate the use of artificial intelligence acting on large data sets. So today those data sets reside in various storage platforms, but they're generally not geographically distributed. Further, for that artificial intelligence insight to be useful and timely, it really does have to be close to the end user.
If we grow mass capacity tiers and data centers efficiently over time, it actually feeds more raw data into those powerful engines. It provides opportunities for everyone to design better outcomes for their customers.
It can then be married up using the Equinix Fabric to either cloud compute resources or our new Equinix Metal, bare metal compute service that can act on that data, delivering the best possible user experience.
There are some workloads that can run exclusively in Live Cloud. There are some workloads that actually run in a combination of Equinix Metal and Live Cloud. And then there's a third group of workloads where you actually leverage the storage in Equinix data centers, but use the public cloud providers to access the applications.
Migrating data onto public cloud platforms or migrating data off of public cloud platforms, and then integration with other cloud services are amongst the top pertinent challenges that organizations face with their public cloud storage.
In the Live Cloud environment, we have data that is now accessible by all of the cloud service providers. I look at that as us being very complementary to today's public cloud service providers. You could have your applications and your compute be running in AWS and access data sitting on Live Cloud. You could be running a number of your backup applications on Azure and actually store the targeted data in Live Cloud. This is a true complement to the multi-cloud environment. We actually have the ability to work with all the hyperscalers to move data back and forth between the hyperscalers and Live Cloud. Thus, we could become the stepping stone, the staging ground for data to be collected from the edge and move it into today's hyperscalers.
The Live Cloud Storage as a Service platform is being deployed as we speak. Our goal is for the platform to be deployed in 4 markets by the end of the year and available to customers across the Equinix platform who have access in those sites in the United States.
You may need Live Cloud only for a week and then want to delete the data. That's fine. You may choose to make decisions over time and store it there for longer before you farm it out to its final destination. That's fine too. We want to keep the model very simple, very efficient for you, and very secure, such that you get maximum value for your data.
Rather than coming out with point products, Seagate has come up with a solution that consists of various modular elements that interoperate with each other. To me, what that means is Seagate has shown itself to have deep understanding of the customer pain points. They have a very good understanding of the ecosystem that they are working with and how to nurture and grow it. And the architecture knowledge being an enabling technology to some of the biggest hyperscalers. It has shown that it has that deep knowledge of the architecture that can support mass storage capacity needs, not just in the cloud, but at the edge and on premises as well.
We're really excited about solving the problems from edge to cloud with a new way to data.
Thank you for taking this data journey with us today. We're excited to have introduced you to the Live platform. From move to store through activate, the new way to data is here. Frictionless, simple, cost-effective. Efficient mass storage and data mobility are within your reach. So come talk to us. We can help you overcome your data management challenges in a way that complements your existing IT infrastructure. Big thanks to our guests and collaborators. Stick around for the rest of the show and be sure to check out the deep dives and strategy workshops. See you around the DataSphere.